Hello everyone, I'm Sarah of Rich Textures Crochet and welcome. Today we're going to learn how to crochet the Cameron beanie, and this is a wonderful crochet beanie to make. It looks like it is knit, but it is crochet. This is it with a pom-pom, or you can remove your pom-pom and certainly wear the hat without. It's really up to you. Another way you can customize it is by wearing the brim long, or you can also fold it up to give you a shorter hat. It's really up to you. The hat is very easy to work. It's worked in rows, as you're going to see here, and quite nice and cozy to wear. Today for the pattern, I'm using a worsted weight yarn. I'm working with the Brava Tweed yarn. You'll also see it here in the green. It's a worsted weight acrylic blend yarn with that number 4 weight. There is approximately, let me see here, there's approximately 218 yards per ball. You're going to need almost all of this ball of yarn to complete the hat to the measurements here. We're going to work it in an adult size, so with a 20 to 24 inch circumference, and I'll give you some tips later on how to change the size if you wish. You're also going to need a 5mm or an H8 crochet hook. This is the Blush Streamlined Metal Hook by Furls Crochet. There are links to both the yarn and the hooks down in the description of this video. Also down in the description you'll find a direct link to the free written instructions, which are on richtexturescrochet.com. You may wish to have them to follow along. So thank you so much for joining me. While you're here, I invite you to subscribe, say hello down in the comments, and take a look around. This channel is updated every single week with free crochet patterns and stitch tutorials. Now for the Cameron beanie today, I mentioned that it is worked in rows. We're going to start it off in a little bit of a unique way. I've used this method for hats a couple other times, and I really like it for when I'm working a hat side to side, as I'm going to do today. You're going to start by making a slip knot, and then by chaining 15. Next, you're going to join with a slip stitch into the top, or into that first stitch. This is going to form a ring at the top of your hat. You're then going to work a foundation chain, and your foundation chain for the adult size hat is going to be 50 chains. Now, if you would like to change the size of your hat, you're simply going to work this foundation chain to the desired length of hat. Today I'm going to chain 50. There's 25. $40, and 50. Now 50 is going to give you the size that you saw there. You're going to have a little bit to turn up for a brim if you wish. Once you have that foundation chain worked, you're going to begin row 1 by working a single crochet into the second chain from your hook. You're then going to work a herringbone single crochet in each stitch all the way across. To work the herringbone single crochet, looking at the front of your stitch, you're going to insert your hook under the vertical bar of the stitch post, the one that is furthest over in the direction that you are working. So just under this vertical bar of the previous stitch post, insert your hook, You're then going to insert your hook into the next stitch on the foundation chain, yarn over, draw up a loop with 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. That is your herringbone single crochet. You're going to continue to repeat that all the way across. Insert your hook under the loop of the previous stitch, then into the next stitch on the foundation chain. Yarn over, drop a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Continue to work herringbone stitches all the way across until you come to that chain 15 loop. Now I've come all the way across. I'm just working my final herringbone stitch. When you come to that loop, you're going to work 1 slip stitch into the chain 15 loop, chain 1, and turn your work. Now for row 2, or at the end of row 1, you're going to have a total of 49 stitches. For row 2, we're going to begin by working in the back loop only in each stitch all the way across until 1 stitch remains. And we're going to work more herringbone stitches. We're going to start off working into the first herringbone stitch. So you're not working into your chain 1. That doesn't count as a stitch, nor does the slip stitch into the ring. You're working into your first herringbone stitch. In the back loop only, you're going to work 1 single crochet. You're then going to continue working in the back loop only all the way across until 1 stitch remains, working herringbone stitches in each stitch all the way across. Once again, until 1 stitch remains. So in the back loop only, herringbone stitches all the way across until you have 1 stitch left. When you come all the way across row 2 and have 1 stitch remaining, you're going to work your final herringbone stitch under both loops of that final stitch. You can then chain 1 and turn your work. Now for row 3, we're going to start off once again working under both loops of that first stitch. You're going to work a single crochet. Then working in the back loop only of each stitch all the way across, you're going to work a herringbone stitch in each stitch and back up until you come back to that chain 15 loop. When you come all the way across your row 3, you'll work your final stitch. You're going to continue to have 49 stitches all the way across. You'll be back up at your chain 15 loop. You're going to slip stitch into that loop, chain 1, turn your work, and you're now going to repeat rows 2, beginning with your single crochet in the back loop only, followed by your herringbone stitches all the way across until you come to your final stitch where you'll work under both loops, and then repeat your row 3, which we just worked. So you're going to repeat rows 2 and 3 until you have a total of 54 rows, or until the hat reaches the desired circumference of your head, or the head you're making it for. So either work 54 rows, which will give you a nice fitting hat that fits around 20 to 24 inch circumference, or until you reach the desired circumference. At that time, you can then meet me back here and we will finish off our hat. Once you have worked your 54 rows, you're going to have the top of your hat, your ring up at the top, and you're going to want to crochet your two sides together. So what you're going to do is you're going to place them over top of one another with that ring up at the top. And we're going to work a slip stitch seam all the way up to the top ring. Now if you change the size of your beanie, you worked more or less rows, you might be up at the top and working your way down. Either way is perfectly fine. What you're going to do to sew the two sides together is working in the back loop only. You're going to insert your hook in the first side, then reach across into the same stitch on the other side and simply work a slip stitch. You're going to do this all the way up the side of your beanie, of your crochet hat. And again, to change the circumference of your hat, you just work more or less rows if you are going to change the size. So I'm just working my slip stitches all the way up. If you turn your hat inside out and you're finding that you're not liking the way that that seam works, you can switch it up a little bit. You can slip stitch into the front loops only, or a combination of the front loops and back loops. You can try a few different ones just to get it to have the look that you are going for. So slip stitch in the back loops only of both thicknesses all the way across the side of your beanie. When you come all the way across and you're back up at the top of your beanie, you're going to slip stitch back into that ring, and you can then fasten off, leaving a little bit of a long tail. If you are down at the opposite end of your beanie, then no need to leave the long tail. You're going to fasten off and weave in your ends, and then you'll want to join your yarn up at the top of your hat. So here I've already tucked in that end as well. I'm going to trim it off. You're then going to take your long tail and work it through your yarn needle, and you're going to use this long tail to sew the top of your hat closed. Now there are a number of ways you can sew it depending again on the look that you're going through for. You can weave around the top and then pull it closed. You can go in and out as I'm doing here, or any number of stitches. So you're just going to sew across the top of your hat. My hat is still inside out, so I have the wrong side facing. When you come across, you'll want to fasten off, and you're going to tuck in your end at the top of your beanie. Alternatively, you may also use, if you have any of the long tail remaining, you may also use it to fasten a pom-pom to the top if you wish. I'm just going to trim mine off. You then turn your hat so that it is right side out. Fold up a brim if you'd like, or leave it long, but that is how you work your Cameron beanie. So thank you so much for joining me. Once again, I invite you to subscribe, take a look around, and this channel is updated every single week with free crochet patterns and stitch tutorials. If you happen to make this hat and share it on social media, do be sure to tag Rich Textures Crochet. I always love to come by and admire your work. Until next time, happy crocheting. Bye.